Hey guys, welcome to another talk. The title of this class, Life Does Not Play Favorites. We're going to be talking about the third and fourth noble truths. Have you heard of Peter and Eileen Getty, the founders of the Findhorn community in North Scotland? Exceptional beings. You need to check them out on Google. These fellows have created a miracle on the planet. Findhorn, or this community in the town of Findhorn, is famous for its 40-pound cabbages. 40 pounds is a little less than 20 kilos. Huge cabbages. The regular ordinary cabbage is just about 4 pounds or 2 kilos. But these guys are into giant cabbages. And the way they achieved this miracle is by aligning themselves to higher forces, spiritual forces. When Brother Pete lost his job and they started living on welfare, he, his wife Eileen, their 3 sons, and a close friend, also a spiritual devotee, they moved into a trailer and drove up and settled in Findhorn. Right on this windswept peninsula, finger sticking out. Yeah, windswept, the gales, the wind strong enough to knock over a 5-year-old. The soil where they set up shop, if you could call it soil, rocky, sandy, definitely not someplace you would want to grow a garden in. Nobody in their right mind would do it. But they somehow did it. They were quite poor, living on welfare, 20 pounds or $20, let's say a week. 6 of them. 20. Not much money for feeding. So they decided to grow their own crops with the help of the good Lord. And the help was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal, because they had aligned themselves to these universal forces. They not only grew cabbages, they also grew 65 different types of veggies, 21 types of fruits, 42 types of herbs. And then they started adding flowers to their repertoire. And everything that they planted in that weird soil, which slowly became non-weird, flourished in fantastic ways. Slowly but surely, they started gaining attention from the community and from other people around the world. Today, about 14,000 seekers from all over the world come to Findhorn to understand how these guys have achieved this miracle. Yeah, brilliant stuff. There's another fellow you might want to check up on Google. Also a brilliant being, like the fellow I spoke of earlier, George Washington Carver, to whom the plants spoke. Hey, this is how you do it. Yeah. His name, Luther Burbank. He also brilliant with plants, brilliant stuff, magical. He actually spoke or loved a giant cactus to shedding its spines or thorns. Nobody is going to harm you, darling. Nobody. I will look after you. Just don't need those thorns. Well, the cactus shed the thorns. Can you believe it? When I was in LA, I actually went up to his place. He had already popped Santa Rosa to see this cactus and to see the way he had set up his place, few acres of land. The tragedy was that after he died, there was no one really there to protect that cactus. And so people, the visitors, the tourists who would come there, some with a little screws missing, they had scratched their names and ridiculous things on the cactus. Jill loves Tom. My name is Sam. With their little pen knives or whatever. They had scratched things on the cactus. Terrible. Anyway, that's besides the point. According to Peter, it's when we align ourselves to universal forces, we are able to achieve miracles which the ordinary person is totally clueless about. Yeah, that's what the class is about. That's what Dharma teachings are about, creating miracles. All right. Before I go on to the third noble truth and the fourth one, consider once again the question: why do we practice the Dhamma? Why it is so absolutely essential? Because the laws and principles operating in nature are extremely subtle, perplexing, and invisible. And because they're invisible, people don't see them. People are not aware of them. And when we're not aware of these forces, it is inevitable that we will transgress them. You have been transgressing them. Check for yourself. And the consequence of transgressing these forces is misery. That is why we practice Dhamma, to awaken to these invisible forces so we can live in alignment with them. Just think, how many people are aware, including you, that the difficulties we experience have not come to us from out there. The difficulties we experience have been invited by us. Yes, yes, we invited them. By the unconscious way we have chosen to live. And so the Dhamma makes us conscious of the fact that, hello, this is not the right way to live. Better way is this way. Then you no longer invite difficulties. So out of all the videos you've watched, tell me, which of the classes have been talking about, in which of these classes have I been talking about these invisible forces? Are you aware? Every class I'm talking about these invisible forces. That's what the Buddha is talking about in his entire teachings. Invisible forces we need to be conscious of. Generosity, for instance, perfections we spoke of. Generosity, the importance of being generous, is not within the framework of most people on the planet. Just think, look at the greed, look at the stinginess, look at the hoarding that goes on the planet and the consequences of that. Being virtuous, second perfection, is not visible. People believe they can scam others, kill others, harm others, sexual exploitation, and it's okay, it's fine. Is it fine? Straight in the ditch, right? These are every teaching is making us aware of what is not obvious for the majority of people on the planet. Go through the videos again and check how every class is making you aware of things, of frequencies most people, including you, are not aware of. Yeah, that's why we study and practice the Dhamma, because these forces are very subtle. It might seem obvious, it becomes obvious when we talk about them, but unless it's brought to our consciousness, brought into our awareness, it's not obvious. That patience is far more important than impatience. That truthfulness is the way to a happy life, not deception. Nah, and yet look, so many people scamming, believing there's profit in that. Yeah. Think of the importance of equanimity, tranquil mind. Are you cultivating a tranquil mind? Do you see the importance of it? Or is your mind constantly ruffled? These are invisible forces people are not subscribing to. And by not subscribing to them, there's the swamp, there's the ditch, there's the zombie forest. All locations where suffering is being bred, born and bred. Praise the Lord. All right. The third noble truth is the truth of nirvana. And how do you understand what this means? Nirvana. Nirvana is the full awakening from our unconscious way of being, full awakening to the true nature of reality, which is dimensionless, no substantiality, no separate, dimensionless, magnificent, beyond measure. Yeah. The bliss we experience through this awakening is immeasurable. The peace, the joy, the bliss, immeasurable. Yeah. So it's not just awakening, but it is in the awakening, full awakening, that we finally cut the link to samsara, to wandering around rebirth after rebirth, looking for happiness where it cannot be found. Lasting happiness, lasting joy, fulfillment, bliss, ecstasy we're looking for, not in this world. No. Another dimension. Okay? Full emancipation from our delusions. Total freedom from rebirth. Complete. Yep, no more coming back. Hanging out, nirvana. Okay. Now, the word nirvana is comprised of two concepts or words. Nir stands for without. Vana implies air. Without air? That's what nirvana is about? Yeah, bro. Yeah. What does that mean? Without air? Well, every living thing on the planet, people, creatures, plants, bacteria, whatever. Yeah. Every living thing on the planet requires oxygen to survive. Without oxygen, no breathing, popping. Yeah. Every living thing on a planet requires oxygen for its survival. In the absence of oxygen, no can do. Similarly, every suffering we experience is dependent on the oxygen, is fueled by the oxygen called spiritual ignorance. Spiritual ignorance is the oxygen that fuels rebirth, suffering, misery, and so on. Nirvana extinguishes that oxygen, that cause. The fundamental cause for our suffering is spiritual darkness, shrouded in spiritual darkness. No can see. Okay. Now, there are these beings on the planet who are terrified of the concept of nirvana because they believe that they will be extinguished. Now, is that a legitimate concern that they would be extinguished? Not at all. Why? There's no one there in the first place to be extinguished. This is illusion, only virtual reality, hologram, not the truth. Our true nature is dimensionless, powerful beyond measure. We are one with the cosmos. We are not separate creatures. There's no one to be extinguished. Okay, so that fear is unfounded. Now, nirvana, please understand, is not some heaven realm we zoom off to, nor is it some glorious realm we zoom off to. Yeah. Why? Because there is nowhere to go. It is dimensionless, like you are, like everything. No dimension. There's no place to go to when we pop off or when we awaken. No one there and no place to go to. Dimensionless, vast, undivided, infinite consciousness that is without boundaries and with no substantiality whatsoever. Brilliant mystical dimension. Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay. Where do those dream creatures, beings, places, mountains, where do they go to? Which dimension do they go to when you wake up? Is there some dream world where they hang out and when you go to sleep, they come into your consciousness? Where do they go to? There is no dimension where they go to, your dream characters. Yeah, similarly, no dimension, no place hanging out. Nirvana is not over there. It is not near Mars or near Jupiter. No. Dimensionless state of complete freedom, total emancipation from suffering. Clear? Right. There's not much we can talk about in relation to something that is beyond the concepts of the everyday mind. All we can say is that nirvana is a state related to the salvation, the homecoming we have been longing for lifetimes. Salvation, redemption, liberation from suffering. The only way to tap into this consciousness, this awareness, is through diligent study and practice of the Dhamma, not diligent study and practice of Netflix or where is the next shopping spree you are going to go to. No, no, no. All right? Right practice. Okay, no wishy-washy practice. Right, diligent practice. So the Buddha says on several occasions, and regarding this incredibly blissful state, he says, calm is the mind, calm is the speech, and calm are the actions of those who, seeing things clearly, are fully liberated and therefore at peace with the world. For they are no longer entangled in the illusions of the world. Not being entangled in the illusions of the world, they are completely free from suffering. Brilliant stuff. Calm is the mind, calm is the speech, and calm are the actions of those who, seeing things rightly, are fully emancipated from suffering. Total liberation, and therefore at peace with the world. No longer turbulence in the mind, and therefore no more suffering. That's the state we're aiming for in our practice. Yeah, that's the ultimate endpoint to the practice. But that endpoint is a little bit far. Not in this rebirth. Many, many lifetimes of deep practice. Okay, but we gotta start where we gotta start. All right, let's go on to the fourth noble truth. The fourth noble truth is the truth of the Noble Eightfold Path, the pathless path. All this called the path is really something we need to practice simultaneously. There's no from here to there like that. No. This factor, then you practice this factor, then you practice action. These 8 factors on the path need to be practiced simultaneously, not one by one, simultaneously. Just think, when you practice driving, when you learn driving, do you only focus on the steering wheel? Do you only focus on the accelerator or the brake or the gear stick if it's manual? Do you only focus on the mirrors? No. Everything together. Start the car, put your hand on the wheel, clutch, brake, well, if it's manual. Yeah. We're paying attention to the entire process of driving. Then we get from one place to the other. Not one by one, together. Keep your eye on the mirror this way and that way. Keep your eye on what's happening in front. Yeah. To get from where we are to full liberation, the practice has to be practiced simultaneously with all the factors supporting one another. Not just the Noble Eightfold Path, also everything else that the Buddha taught. Generosity, virtue, renunciation, energy, wisdom, patience, truthfulness, determination, loving kindness, equanimity, and then the 5 spiritual faculties we spoke of, and so on and so forth. Everything together. Your body. Look at your body. Is only your heart doing the work? Is only your lungs doing the work? Your liver only? All together to keep you healthy. Everything in place. Yes. Same with teachings. All together. Can do. Can. Let's see how. Okay. So the Noble Eightfold Path, basically, not just the Noble Eightfold Path, all the teachings, the entire gamut of teachings, basically, are offering us the skill set or the know-how for being in this world correctly. Because when we transgress natural laws, please fill in the blanks. I've said it many times. When you transgress natural laws, there's only one consequence. Misery in the ditch. No transgressing. All right? Okay. Now, for us to gain traction in our practice, for the practice to actually work, traction, it has to be practiced skillfully. This means we need guidance and supervision from someone who sees reality better than we do. We call these people teachers, coaches, trainers, whatever, mentors. We need guidance. It is imperative because the path factors are not easy to understand. If you can't understand them, you're not going to apply them correctly. We also need group support from a wise Sangha, people dedicated to clarity. Yeah, teacher and good friends, spiritual community has to be present. Without spiritual community, a little bit lost. Let's see why. Okay. Out in the wild, out in nature, out in the wild, the saplings of trees, baby trees, yeah, the saplings of trees usually spend the first few decades, not years, decades, many years, under the shade of their mother's canopy. Yeah. The trees, seeds fall down, little saplings come up. Okay. Out in the nature, the saplings, the young saplings of trees usually spend their first few decades under the shade or under the canopy of their mother's loving arms, okay, branches. What happens then? Being under the shade of these branches, mother's branches, there's little sunlight. Less sunlight means that their growth is slow. Slow growth implies that these trees are going to grow into dense, hard wood. Yeah? Their wood is dense and hard because you're really growing at the right pace. Supersonic nature. But what happens when you plant a tree out there in your backyard or wherever without the shade of another tree protecting it? What happens? Well, with no shade around, it starts to gorge on the sunlight. Yeah, chomping the sunlight. Gorging on the sunlight, it grows rapidly. Yeah, but rapid growth implies that the wood of this tree will be airy and soft, not hard, airy. Airy and soft wood is usually susceptible to disease, fungus, and early rebirth. Because when a tree grows quickly, it also rots quickly. Why? Because it didn't have the chance to grow old and robust and resilient by weathering various climatic and environmental conditions. Didn't have the chance to grow old by withstanding, weathering various climatic and environmental conditions, floods, drought, fires, you name it. Yeah. What does this tell you? We need protection from the Sangha. Remember, the Sangha is part of the triple gem. Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Refuge. We are protected by our teacher and the support of the community to which we belong. We're kept on track. No fast growth. Fast growth equals rotting quickly. Yeah? We are taught to practice the Dhamma at the right pace. Each individual is guided to practice according to their unique characteristics. No one thing is good for everybody. The teacher sees different students and gives them different ways in which to flourish into their best. Yeah? Very, very important. We practice the Dhamma under close supervision. Otherwise, we are going to be a little bit lost. Everything in nature, please understand, everything in nature is influenced by its surroundings, by the environment in which it lives. Any examples? Do you find penguins in the Sahara? Is that the environment where penguins thrive or are born? No, penguins are not in Sahara, South Pole. Hmm. Environment. The beings who live in Africa, do they look like Caucasians? No. They have curly hair, dark skin, different features, different environment, different features. Light skin is usually seen in climatic conditions that are cold, freezing. Dark skin is found in places where sun very hot. Yeah, okay. How about habits? The habit to procrastinate, the habit to not pay attention to what really matters. Do these habits take root in us if we were in the presence of the right influences? No. These habits, these negative habits, are usually nurtured in the context of friendships that are mirroring the same unskillful frequencies. How many people go to a bar or go to the pub in the night and have a smoothie? You don't get smoothies in a pub, you get alcohol. Mixed with those guys, you become alcoholic. Yeah? Smoothies not in the pub, in those yoga centers. In the yoga centers or spiritual places, do they serve you Johnny Walker? No, no, no. Yeah? Our environment determines our mind states. Choose the right environment to practice well, to have the right outlook on life. You cannot be mixing with people with a dim outlook on life and expect to practice to take root. No can. Yeah. For us to practice diligently, for us to have the right outlook on life, the right friendships are absolutely essential. Absolutely. I talk about this in quite a number of classes. I hope it is registering. You need the right friendships, especially to be in contact with someone who sees life better than most people do. Now, each of these path factors is qualified by the term right before it. Right understanding, right thinking, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Right. What does right imply? It does not imply right versus wrong value judgment. Not that. Okay? It implies seeing versus not seeing. Yeah? Seeing the truth, wanting to see the truth instead of denying it. It implies being in flow with life, not resisting it with our prejudices and opinions that have no bearing on reality. Right implies whole brain thinking, not half brain thinking, either too intellectual or too emotional. Whole brain thinking, whole brain observation of reality. Yeah. It implies flexibility in the way we approach and respond to life. Not fixed viewpoints, not rigid behavior patterns. Yeah, flexibility in the way we approach and respond to whatever life sends our way. No resistance, no rigid frequencies. That's what right implies. And therefore, right equates with what is appropriate, what is in sync with reality. Because when it is in sync with reality, it is conducive to awakening. If it is not right, not conducive to awakening, it is conducive to misery. If it is not right, conducive to misery. Okay? That is why each of these path factors is described by the term right before it. Right thinking, right speech, right action, and so on. Seeing versus not seeing. Yeah. Being in flow versus resisting life, denying things, wanting it to be different. It means whole brain approach to reality, not half brain. Yeah, no fixed viewpoints. Flowing with life the way it is. How? By acquiring the right skill sets to do so, which the Dharma provides us with in ample supply, ample supply. Here's what happens when thinking not right. Look at tragedy which takes place. The huge, massive, unsinkable ship called Titanic. Are you aware that this huge, unsinkable ship received 5 iceberg warnings on the night of April 14, 1912? Hey guys, you must be approaching icebergs now. Be careful. 5 iceberg warnings were wired to them. Yeah, no mobiles, wiring, telegraph. On the morning of April 15th, early hours of the morning, another warning came in. Watch out for those icebergs, brothers and sisters. And the overworked operator in charge of the messages wired back. Shut up! I'm busy! Beautiful response. That was his last message, by the way, before the ship into the dark deep. Because exactly half an hour later, after that message came through, and this fellow says, shut up. Exactly half an hour later, that huge, unsinkable ship collided with an iceberg. And the captain, who had boasted before taking off, even God cannot sink this ship. Yeah, boast, even God can't sink the ship, was sinking with it into the dark deep. And he became shark food. His body was never recovered. Okay? Why did this tragic tragic tragedy take place. Why? Right thinking, right understanding, right speech, right actions? Zero. The crew underestimated the power of the icebergs and they overestimated the strength of their ship. That was one reason. Underestimated the power of those icebergs and they overestimated the strength of their supposedly unsinkable ship. Why did they do that? Half-brain thinking, fixed views, fixed behavior patterns, not clarity. Yeah? So this tragedy took place because most people on this planet live in the realm of the absurd, totally absurd reality. What does that mean? Well, the crew, every sailor on that ship was aware of the power of the icebergs. And yet, they chose not to be alert to the danger involved. They were approaching icebergs. They knew they were approaching icebergs. They didn't know when they would appear. It was in the night, dark. They were not alert to the danger. They chose to live in fantasy land. We'll see the icebergs and take pictures in the morning after putting on our lipstick, after combing our hair and dressing up nicely in our champagne. They became fish food, 1,500 of them. Yes. Now you might say, Master B, it's crazy how they could have done that. Really, my dear friend? My virtual friend? Think. Look around you. We are aware of the dangers that life holds for us. Yeah? Accidents, betrayals, losing our job, ill health. Wildest things can happen on the planet. We're aware. Yeah, it's a pretty wild place to live in. Lots of crazy things can happen out of the blue. Are we alert to these dangers? Are we prepared for these dangers when you lose your job? When you lose someone you love? When you acquire a life-threatening illness? Are you prepared for it? No. Why? Wealth, pleasures, distractions, more important. Clarity? Later, later, later. We're living exactly in the same callous manner as the crew of the Titanic were living. And we see the tragedy involved in living a blinkered life. We know that there are challenges in this world, big challenges, but we are not preparing ourselves. No robust, no resilience for the various climatic and environmental changes all of us have to wade through in our journey through life. Not the prepared, no shade from the canopy of the refuge. There is no refuge in money, no refuge in pleasures. Hmm. So, what's the solution? This is why self awareness is paramount. Paramount! Because it is the hub, the center point from which we can cultivate the right skill sets, self awareness, to cultivate the right skill sets for flowing through this world with power and grace, regardless of what happens, regardless of the storms blowing around us. We remain centered in our power. Yep. There can be no personal excellence without it. No awareness, no well considered life. Ditch, zombie forest, swamp. Three choices. Not pleasant. So, in the absence of self awareness, being mindful, yeah, in the absence of self awareness, it's quite inevitable that we will live in a manner where the lights are on, but nobody's home. Vacant. Yeah? We will live in a manner where the lights are on, but nobody home. No awareness. So then what happens when we live in a manner where there is no awareness of what really matters? How do we cope with life's negative frequencies when the dark forces come galloping our way? The betrayals, the sickness, the loss, and so on. How do we cope with it? Johnny Walker, drinking, smoking, distracting, suicide. Are these the ways to cope? No. Hmm. No. What does the right skill set imply? What skill set? Having the right skill set implies being in touch with our power for creating amazing things, for making amazing things happen, being in touch with our power, the power of the cosmos that flows through us. That's what the right skill set is about. So that regardless of the challenges that come our way, we are more than capable of transforming them. Without the fear, without the doubts, without the insecurities, full possession of our strengths. That's the right skill set. Hmm. Now, what exactly is this skill set? Having the power for creating amazing outcomes. What is this skill set? It's not just our ability, not just ability. The primary skill set is our personality, our character, our resonance, our presence. That's the primary skill set. Yeah? Because ability without presence, without character, not very skillful. A lot of people out there, very intelligent people, have the ability to make bombs and other weapons of mass destruction. Have the ability, have the brains. But without the character, what happens? Without the right character, our ability is misplaced on things that lead to massive suffering for ourselves and the world around us. The skill set that is imperative is in the nurturing and sustaining of the right personal qualities: generosity, virtue, renunciation, energy, wisdom, and so on. Yeah, that's the skill set. Being, not having and doing, being wise and loving. Here's an example of what I'm saying, or what the Buddha is saying. I am just the mouthpiece. We've all had the experience of being given good advice from family and friends because we are not doing something which is skillful. So this advice keeps coming at us from all sources. Hey, smoking is not good. Drinking not so hard. No drugging, no procrastination. Don't do this and don't do that. Yeah. We all have had the experience of being advised by family and friends towards habits that are not serving us. And we have all got the experience of not listening, still doing what we shouldn't be doing. Yeah. Okay. But then one fine day, we meet this someone, either at a party, at a friend's house, at a social gathering, wherever. We meet this person with sparkling eyes, glowing complexion, who tells us the same thing that our friends and family have been telling us. And bingo, we are transformed. Why does it happen? Why does that happen? All those years we heard the same thing, but we didn't do nothing about it. Then this stranger comes along, says the same thing, and boom, you're not the same person anymore. How does this happen? People think it happens because before we were just not ready to hear those truths. Yeah. Therefore, it went in here and came out from there. That's not how it works. When we meet the right person, that person is right because they have the power to make us ready, to mature us, to make us come of age, to do things correctly, to live correctly. Yeah? They have the power to cut through our bullshit, to cut through the excuses, the procrastination, the resistance, all the crap that has prevented us from making wise choices. They have the power to cut through all that shit. Yeah? That's why we need to be in the right context, because the environment in which we live has a powerful influence on us. A Dhamma teacher usually has the power to influence people to do things the right way. We need that connection. Very important connection has to take place. When we are fortunate enough to come across such a person who has that power, that's when we're ready to do whatever it takes to get our lives on track. Yeah. We're ready to do it. No more grudgingly doing it. We do it joyfully. We've come of age to see what really matters. Yeah. How do we acquire such power to influence our friends and family, to do things the right way? How do we acquire the power? As human beings, we are wired to seek comfort. We are wired to want a hassle-free existence. No like challenges, no like hardships, no like difficulties. Yeah. Our propensity is for comfort. Bag of chips and TV gazing. Yeah. No reading, no practice. Nice soft sofa, nice soft bed, comfort, and a hassle-free existence. That's how we are wired. But that's not how we grow. That's not how we discover our power. No can do. So how do we discover? Through hardships, by facing and surmounting challenges, adversity, climatic and environmental changes. Yeah, that's how we discover power to face what we're afraid of and to go right through into the fray. Why? Why do we need to face hardships? Spiders on the walls, monkeys on the road, creatures outside the cave, jumping out of the plane, all the weird things I've done. Why did I put myself in those crazy scenarios? Why? It is because challenges, hardships, adversity forces us to stretch beyond our present capabilities, to discover the power we never even knew we had. Living in our complacent zones, there is no stretching, no yoga. Yeah, only when we place ourselves in life's playing field where there are challenges inside the cave and the wild creatures hanging out in the forest with scorpions and snakes and spiders and yes, it forces us to stretch beyond our present capabilities to discover the immense resources we are gifted with, which we never even knew we had. Easy living is a wasted life. Never get to know the magnificence in us unless we place ourselves in those trying conditions. Very, very important. Okay, so what's the best way to face and surmount challenges, hardships. We need to learn to be comfortable with discomfort. We have to acquire a taste for discomfort, not cozy living. Discomfort. Yeah? Because when we continue to live in a fearful and average manner, we remain fearful and average our entire life. Precious human rebirth, wasted living in this fashion. As I've said on many occasions, let me just say it again. I live in Bengaluru, where there are no traffic rules. Well, 20%. Hardly any traffic rules. People over here are driving as though they were drunk or fast asleep. But I'm comfortable in this crazy reality. I've made myself comfortable with the discomfort of driving where your alertness is at its peak. You have to be alert because these people come from unimaginable directions. Yeah? It's something to witness. Woof! Hey, I don't need video games. I'm living it. Yeah. We have to make ourselves comfortable with discomfort. That's how we grow. Easy driving, no big deal. Driving in chaotic conditions, you keep yourself alert and you sharpen your skills. You cannot sharpen your reflexes with everything very easy. So, best way overcome challenges, surmount them, face them, is also to know that the external reality is far more malleable, far more pliable, yeah, like clay, far more malleable than we believe it to be. Because the external reality is highly dependent on the lens through which we view it. Are you understanding? The way we see things is the way they reflect themselves to be. Here's an example. Here comes challenge. We see it with the lens of fear. So what does challenge show us? It is scary. Here comes a challenge. Monkeys on the pathway. 60 of them hanging out. The lens through which we see it? Oh, look at that. Monkeys. Crazy guys right there. Furry little babies. Let's see how I can wade through that with power and grace. Then monkeys, not fearful. Monkeys are an invitation for discovering the power we're not even familiar with yet. Yeah? The lens through which we see reality becomes our reality. So what kind of lens do we need? Obviously, ultrasonic. Yeah? It's an ultrasonic mindset that allows us to resolve and to dissolve the challenges. And what does this ultrasonic mindset consist of? Courage, love, curiosity, being insightful. But most of all, this ultrasonic mindset consists of being in tune with spiritual forces. Being in tune with spiritual forces to help us to serve the greater good. Yeah? To be devoted to serving the greater good of humanity and of life in its fullness. That's what the best mindset is about. To be devoted to bringing out our best so that we become a blessing for ourselves and the world around us. On that resonance, on that character frequency, we grow cabbages that are 40 pounds in weight. We grow a garden, a brilliant garden on soil that is pathetic, but which becomes non-pathetic. Are you understanding, please? Yeah. The reason we do not like challenges is because mindset is timid, not curious to discover strengths, not harnessing natural laws and processes to assist us, living in limbo land. Please understand that with the right mindset in place, we don't just feel differently about our experiences. It doesn't just change our feelings. The right mindset actually changes our experience, not just our feelings about the experience. It changes the experience itself. When I walked through the tribe of monkeys, which in most cases would turn aggressive if, when that alpha male grabbed my bag of groceries and I eyeballed him, if you eyeball those monkeys, they turn aggressive. I not only eyeballed him, but I nodded my head. Not as I'll kick your ass if you take my groceries. There was no threat in my eyeballing. There was just this pure brotherhood. Hey, buddy, you're not doing the right thing. Come on, let go. That was my eyeballing. He did not grimace at me. He did not turn aggressive. He just looked at me. He was mesmerized. Let go of my bag. And he communicated to the rest of this tribe, no hassling this fellow. He is one of us. Yeah? I did not just feel good. I changed the experience. I just didn't feel good about, okay, I have the power. I changed the entire experience, which somebody else would experience, to be in my favor with the right mindset. Another villager or another townsperson would not have been able to do it because they didn't have the practice behind them. I was able to do it. I wouldn't recommend anybody else to do it. They would have trouble. Yeah? The courage, the love, the insight to be in touch with natural forces. That's when challenges just change in amazing, amazing ways. Just think of how a placebo can actually dissolve a terminal illness, dissolve it, gone with the wind, when we are totally convinced of the efficacy of the power in the drug we are taking. The doctor comes in and says, hey guys, look at this. This is a new drug. We've done studies It works miracles, this drug. Take it. Let's see what happens. Okay. Are you willing to take it? It's an experimental drug. It's worked wonders for everybody else. For all the tests we've done, take it. Really, doctor? Okay, I'm going to take it. You believe the doctor. You trust the doctor. You trust the drug. Next morning, he comes in. He checks you out. He says, hey, you don't have any more symptoms of cancer or whatever else it was that was killing you. Yeah? The ultrasonic mindset doesn't just change our feelings about any experience, it actually changes the experience. To acquire that skill set requires deep practice. It doesn't just happen. To acquire that skill set also requires a mind that's willing to trust. Yeah? Convinced in the drug. So with the right mindset in place, we're ready to catch the ball, whichever direction it comes from. Whichever way it comes from, we're catching that ball, that challenge. And clack, score the goal. Okay, right. This is why life does not play favorites. That's the title of the class. Life does not play favorites. Each and every one of us, as I've said before, each and every one of us receives from life only what we qualify for. If we qualify for joy, love, and laughter, life has an abundant supply from its treasury, and it will give it to us, shower us, bathe us with it. Love, joy, and laughter. But if we qualify for misery, well, there comes that Mack truck filled with goodies called suffering. Yeah, 18-wheeler. Illness, relationship fiascos, financial fiascos, social disgrace, you name it. Yeah? If we qualify for suffering, there's no power on earth that can save us from it, from the consequence of transgressing natural laws. Life does not play favorites. We invite suffering to us and we invite joy to us by the way we have chosen to live. Yeah. So how wisely or how unwisely we are choosing to live can be seen, open eyes, it can be seen in our present circumstances. Have we qualified for living this happy, healthy, beautiful, loving existence? Present circumstances, check it out. How happy are you? How fulfilled are you? How joyous are you? Are you experiencing those supersonic states? Or are you bored and restless and you need hours of TV gazing and distractions to feel alive? Loud music? Check it out. The proof is right there in front of you. How well are you living your moments? Because it depends on how you're living, you will qualify either for joy or for misery. Life does not play favorites. The ultimate test, the ultimate proof of how well we have lived is when we're about to pop off. How has our life turned out in the end? Are we peaceful with the world? Are we happy that we've lived well? Or are we riddled with regret and shame and grief and that's the proof. How well have you lived? Are you going to die with fear and remorse? Or are you going to die happy with a joke? Good friends around you. Think about it. So, a flourishing life. We all want to flourish. But a flourishing life is not based on the having and the doing. Not based on that. No matter how much you have, no matter how much you do, what you accomplish, it does not have the means for instilling joy and love and yumminess in us. No. Having and doing doesn't have the power. That is why a flourishing life is the inevitable consequence of choosing personal excellence over everything else. Personal excellence, our character. That's what a flourishing life is founded on, our character. Because when our character is in the right place, then what we have will serve us. What we do will serve us. And not just us, but the world around us. Without the right character, the having and the doing, wasted life. Totally wasted life. Look around you again. Open eyes, open mind, look. Countless numbers of beings on the planet seeking happiness, seeking fulfillment. They're not rabbit. Yeah? They live a miserable life. Countless numbers of beings live in poverty, in conflict, in violence, in abuse, you name it, illness. Prisons are full, hospitals are full. Look around, yeah? Why? Because they can't see, they literally cannot see just how unskillfully they are living. Why can't they see that? Why? Because universal laws and principles are invisible. Invisible. Because they're invisible, these countless beings are clueless as to how every single day they are transgressing these laws and principles. That's why they suffer. Invisible. So, thankfully, wise people come into this world to awaken us to these invisible laws and principles. The Noble Eightfold Path, perfections, the faculties I've spoken of. These are invisible realities for most people. But only when we awaken to the importance of practicing these directives from life. You need to be generous. You need to be virtuous. You need to be patient. You need to be wise. Yeah, these are life's directives. Universal laws are life's directives for how to live. It's only when we align ourselves to these forces, are sensitive to these forces, loving of these forces, insightful in relation to these forces, that's when we lift ourselves out of the ditch and into a life that is spectacular. Ladies and gentlemen, wake up. Life does not play favorites. Things don't happen by chance or accident. There are laws, invisible laws operating in the world. We need to be awake to these laws so we can live in alignment with them. Any questions? Send them to me. Thought transference. Okay, stay well, stay happy. Hallelujah.